Welcome to the After Party Wednesday review show. Today's co-host, hashtag we got one, it is Mr. _ Tryon. What is going on, my man?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Let's get to this week in wrestling. We kick it off with AEW from Corpus Christi, Texas. We kick it off with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page tagging against the Lucha Bros. These two teams are excellent. This was a good way to kick off the show. However, it started out kind of weird. I noticed that Page and Pentagon, once they both got into the ring against each other, they had a catchphrase showdown. They just kept throwing their signs in each other's faces and trying to pop the crowd. It was okay. It was a little awkward, I thought. And then...
Yeah.
Y'all go for it?
Oh, no, I'm saying, yeah, I feel like it kind of went on too long.
Way too long.
Yeah.
It's starting to get a little awkward, lingering, and then Hangman Page and Omega basically chopped the shit out of Pentagon, which was... You don't see the back chop that often, which I thought was kind of unique and a little painful to watch. Would you be able to stand that? Someone chopping your back and your front, or would you tap out and be like, okay, I'm going home?
You know what? For if I was getting a good payday, then yeah, I could probably take it for a little while.
I thought that double teaming was pretty unique. I mean, anytime I see a move that's not in the 2K games, I get surprised because I thought I've seen everything. But yeah. Eventually, they tags Omega in. They have that chop off to Pentagon. Omega and Page dominate the beginning of this match. It was a pretty good match. I gotta say, out of the four superstars, Rey Fenix Jr. is my favorite of these four. He is incredible. Looking like a grown-up Rey Mysterio. He was really bringing it this entire matchup. Who is your favorite out of these four competitors?
My favorite out of the four is Pentagon. I love Pentagon ever since I first saw him in Lucha Underground.
And he looks...
I just love his character, the little things that he does in the ring to tell his story. I think that guy's amazing.
Plus, he looks like a psychopath. I like that.
He does. He looks like something out of a Spanish-speaking horror movie.
Yeah. Lucha Halloween over here. My favorite move that Rey Fenix Jr. does is when the dude is sitting on the turnbuckle, he jumps up and does a jumping spin kick. Every time I see that, it impresses the shit out of me, man. It looks like some karate shit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Hangman Page accidentally hits Omega with a buckshot. That sets up the Luchas hitting their finisher, the package pile driver stomp combo for the win. Are you excited to see Page versus Omega because they're obviously setting this up?
I'll be happy to see Page do something. Seems like he really hasn't done much ever since he lost to Jericho. Ever since then, he's just kind of in the wings. I want him to do anything at this point.
Exactly. I mean, the most famous thing he does is lose, right? Because he lost to MJF for that the diamond ring or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But, well...
Yeah, I think it'll be a good little feud. I think it'll be good storytelling. That's what's gonna storytelling.
After this shoving match, we got Pac on the big screen, awkwardly just standing there, waiting for his cue. I thought that was a really bizarre way to introduce Pac's promo. He was just standing there. And anyway, Pac, he's saying he wasn't going to be responsible for what he does if he doesn't get his rubber match with Omega. And what does he do? He sneaks up on Nakazawa, who's apparently Kenny Omega's best friend, and slowly shuts the door. So what do you think happened in what do you think happened to Nakazawa? Rape or beatdown?
That's where my mind went. I'm like, oh, poor Nakazawa. Me too.
I was expecting to see Pac with a bottle of lube, like slowly sneaking up on him.
Yeah. Pac Cosby.
Yeah, really. That was a little creepy, but I mean, our imaginations can run wild on that. But pretty much, he just beat him down. I'm guessing.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
This prompts Kenny Omega to go save his friend, of course. So during the commercial break, he runs through the audience, and like all the audience members are like blocking his way to get to the back. And the picture-in-picture shows Kenny Omega in the back locker room. And on his way, he gets his ass jumped by the Lucha Brothers for some fucking reason. I guess they weren't done beating the shit out of him. And Hangman Page goes from shoving Omega to saving Omega in this very confusing relationship these guys have. But
yeah, that to me tells me that there's going to be a good story with them. It's all kind of frenemy dynamic.
And they have plenty of time, too, because the next pay-per-view is in February, so they got 2 more months of storytelling out of that. Hangman Page and Kenny Omega should be a good build-up to that feud.
Should be.
But Darby Allin walks in frame with his skateboard, and then we come back from commercial, and the Butcher and Blade and Bunny. Do you think they should be called 3B? Or Triple B, or something to do with like 3 Bs because they're Butcher, Blade, Bunny, or do you think that's too corny?
I think it's too corny. It's gonna be too much like the Big Baller brand, that basketball player, LeBron Ball, his little brand that was on Monday Night Raw that time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
Unless they do a cool little sponsorship, maybe who knows.
I like how they just call them the Butcher and the Blade, but they don't explain why they're called that. They just have pictures of the butcher knife and a blade on their underwear, and they're like, okay, that works.
Yeah, I want to see them at least come out with some knives in the ring.
At least Bunny, I mean, Ali looks like a Playboy bunny. That explains itself, but come on. Butcher and the Blade?
Yeah.
Let's go, people. Tell some stories. Anyway, they take on Cody and Darby Allin. Mr. Hollywood Undead himself skates down to the ring, and then Cody gets his super dramatic entrance, which is always good. This was a pretty good match. I liked it. I like how when Cody was walking down the ring, they started JR started talking shit about MJF using Cody's watch as collateral to buy a house and shit, and JR goes, "It'd be like selling a Hall of Fame ring." Was that a shot at Sonny, or was that just I'm thinking too much about that?
I don't know. I mean, with the way that's going with that company, you never know. They like taking their little shots, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
They sprinkled in shots throughout the night. I'll go over it as we go along, but it's just funny how they're not letting this go, because NXT hasn't mentioned AEW once on their fucking program.
Right. That's a big pet peeve of mine with AEW.
Pretty much.
I feel like yeah.
Well, the Butcher clotheslines the fuck out of Cody, but I don't know if you noticed this. He couldn't pick him up. Like, he kept bending over to pick him up, and, like, Cody was, like, I don't know if Cody was just dead weight and not working with the Butcher, but it just looked funny to see that massive human being struggling picking up Cody.
Yeah.
But Cody is...
Yeah, I just noticed that. I thought something happened. I'm like, did I miss something? But no, he just couldn't get him up.
Like Cody was knocked out cold or something, because Cody is long and gangly, but I mean the Butcher looks like he could pick up Brock Lesnar, and he was struggling picking up Cody. I thought that was kind of funny, but Darby he hit his head during a suicide dive. Did you catch that? Like Butcher and Blade were outside of the ring, and Cody and Darby did a double suicide dive. And Darby, when he went through the ropes, he kind of like tripped or something and stumbled, and he just fell into Butcher's knee or something. That's what was able to take him down, but it was kind of a scary spot. I thought he hit his head, and that suicide dives just need to go away. They're okay looking, but I mean they're putting the wrestlers in danger. I'd rather have their safety over the danger of it.
Yeah, I think the suicide dive should be like the Tombstone Pile Driver, where only certain people are allowed to use it.
Exactly.
How to do it.
You think Darby would be able to do it because he's so fucking skinny and light as a feather? You think it would be perfect for him, but I guess, anything can happen on live TV, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, we end the match with the Cody Cutter, which I guess that's the official name for his finisher. Cody Cutter to the Blade for the win. and they finally get one over on the Butcher and the Blade. I don't know if this is helping Butcher and Blade in their character development, losing so early, but I guess it's just adding fuel to the fire to this feud. But where do they go from here? I mean, Cody and Darby beat them, but is that the end? Because MJF sent the Butcher and the Blade to delete Cody, but that didn't work out. So what's the next step in this feud? What do you think's going to happen now?
I honestly have no clue. I mean, it just seems like I kind of thought they booked themselves into these corners by trying to tell stories, but then realizing, oh, we have to worry about a win-loss record. Oh, then we have this story. We're going to use this guy. And I think it's a little too much for them to handle right now. I think they're trying to take on big storylines right now, but they don't really know where they're going with them.
Maybe next week MJF calls out Cody and like everyone jumps him, the Butcher and Blade and Wardlow, and then Darby comes out and helps him. And I don't know. I thought they might have been foreshadowing a match between Darby and Cody again, because they did face off to a time limit draw last time. I wouldn't mind seeing them tangle again.
Yeah, same here. I kind of felt that's where they were going, and then probably MJF and the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny and everybody else get involved then.
Hopefully they make this story more interesting, because right now it's at a dead end.
It is.
Next up, we get a Jungle Boy training montage, which was very Rocky-esque. It was weird to see this dude with the Blue Lagoon hair, like, training as Rocky, wearing a scorpion mask from Mortal Kombat and shit. Did you...
Yes.
They had Jericho in the background talking shit the whole time, and we see this dude like on a treadmill. I thought they did a good job building this up to a 10-minute time limit match. We'll get to that later, but next up we had Awesome Kong take on a jobber. My favorite part of this match is always Brandy's entrance, because just like a Disney villain or something, Awesome Kong is the heavy, and then they zoom in on her, and then Awesome Kong songs like 8 Million Ways to Die, She's One, and then you see Brandy's bony fingers on Awesome Kong's shoulder. I love that entrance. But as far as Brandy's promo work, that's another story. She always sounds like a news reporter, because she was a backstage interviewer for WWE, and she can't get out of that mode. Whenever she cuts a promo and she's trying to be evil, she just sounds like a news reporter to me.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, she has a great look. Like you said, just that whole Disney villain type thing. Then when she talks, it kind of takes you out of it.
They did that picture-in-picture promo as they were walking to the ring, and Brandy was cutting her typical, join the Nightmare Collective thing, and that bald guy was sitting there. I know it's not James Ellsworth, but my God, did it sound like James Ellsworth. Could you imagine if AEW gets James Ellsworth?
Wow.
If their ratings weren't low before.
Yeah, that would definitely draw them down.
Do you have any guesses? Because I'm not familiar with Ring of Honor or anything else. Is this somebody that you're familiar with? Does he look familiar?
No, I have no clue. Like I said, I thought it was James Ellsworth. I kind of joked about it in my head, but otherwise, I'm just like you. I don't really know much about Ring of Honor or anybody else. So I don't know who it could be at all.
Maybe they reached in like the deep indies for this guy, but hopefully he's impressive.
Hopefully.
Well, then we get a sit-down interview. JR interviews Jungle Boy about his upcoming match with Jericho, and they really took the Jungle Boy side of this really seriously, because if you notice, they did the montage, the sit-down interview. Jericho just walked his fat ass out there and didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He didn't have no pre-promo or anything. He just walked out there and did the match, but they did all this focus and build-up on Jungle Boy. I guess they're trying to make him a bigger deal to the people, because not many people are familiar with Jungle Boy, such as myself. I have no idea who the fuck this kid is, but he seems
I have no clue.
He's in great shape. He's fast. He can talk. It was an okay promo. But they always have to bring up his dead dad for some. I bet you he's gonna get tired of. It's gonna be like Natty and her dead dad. Watch, next week we're gonna get a Jungle Boy promo. He's gonna be like, "My dad, Luke Perry, is watching down from heaven, which zip code is also 90210."
then Natty's just gonna show up out of nowhere. Wait, my dad died first.
You steal my gimmick.
Yeah,
Sixer cats on him.
Yeah, there you go.
So after this, Jake Hagar and Jericho walk down to the ring, and it does the picture-in-picture commercial again. And Sammy G walked down with cue cards. I don't know if you caught this, and Jericho was reading the cue cards to the TV, and it said, "I know TNT thinks that they can't hear us when they go to commercial break," and then it cuts off. I wanted to read what the rest of the cue card said. Did you ever go online and see what he ultimately said?
No, I didn't. I meant to, but I never got a chance to.
I should have did more research on that, but I thought that was funny. I love how Jericho just keeps adding more and more funny shit to his promo work. Man, that guy, man, if AEW didn't have Jericho, they would have been sunk a while ago.
Oh, they would have. He's really built that company. As far as character and just his knowledge, he's a true vet.
We come back from commercial break, and the Jurassic Express is out there. We got Luchasaurus, we got Marco Stunt, we got Jungle Boy making their way out to the ring. They smash cut to Jungle Boy's family is in the crowd. They're treating this like a championship match, but I guess this is technically it is the biggest match of his entire life if he's fighting Chris Jericho. So it is a huge deal. It's funny to me how they made it a huge deal when it was only a 10-minute time limit. All he has to do is last the 10 minutes, and they're treating this like a WrestleMania main event. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, same here. I thought I missed something. Like, is it for the title? Like, what's going on? Because it was just really built up.
Jungle Boy walking out there looking like a senior just out of high school. He's very fantastic, very smooth, very quick movement. Jericho could have won, though. I don't know if you noticed this. After the code breaker, he went for the pin, and the ref counted 1, 2, and then Jericho pulled up Jungle Boy's big old weave, like saying, "No, it's not over yet. I still want to punish this kid." He could have ended it right there. I don't know why he didn't, but they continued the matchup. Jericho continues to make Jungle Boy look like a little kid, and then Jericho throws Jungle Boy out of the ring. That's when Jake Hagar gets his hands on Jungle Boy, smashes him into the puny barricade they have, and then fucking Luchasaurus confronts Jake Hagar. Jake Hagar beats the fuck out of Luchasaurus. This like took all the mystique out of Luchasaurus for me, because you know Jake Hagar is an MMA fighter. He handed Luchasaurus his ass right there in just like a few punches, and then we get the flying Chucky doll off the apron, gets clocked in the head, and basically turns into a corpse. That's what Excalibur said. They're carrying out Marco Stunt's corpse back to the locker room. Everyone was ejected from the match, understandably, to make it a fair one-on-one match. What did you think about Jake Hagar manhandling Luchasaurus?
I really did not like that, because up until about a couple weeks ago, Luchasaurus looked like he could have been a star. He looked like he could have been the monster in AEW, that the almost like a Undertaker, Kane-like character, just this unstoppable force. But then, one, they let him talk. That really throws it off. And then, two, they let him get beat by Jake Hagar. And, yeah, that just kind of... It's making him go downhill, I think, as far as his character goes.
I guess the point of this segment, this match, was just to focus on Jungle Boy. Maybe that's why they had Jake Hagar dispose of his friends so hastily, I guess, so quickly. So the action...
Yeah, but what they could have done is if they wanted to focus on Jungle Boy, they could have done like Kofi Kingston when he beat Brock, or when he fought Brock Lesnar, have him just send his boys to the back and say, "I want to do this on my own." So that way no one gets hurt. That's
true. That's a good point. We get back into we focus back into the ring. Jungle Boy finally starts getting some offense in. He hits a backstabber, and then he uses Jericho's own move against him. He hits the Lion Salt, which commentators made a big deal of. I thought that was a good move on their point to say that no one has ever hit the Lion Salt in Jericho before. Jericho kicks out, and then he punishes Jungle Boy until he eventually locks in the walls. I wrote the time code down as soon as he locked it in. Jungle Boy was in the walls of Jericho for 1 minute and 15 seconds. And the longer he was in that submission, the more painful it looked. Jericho was like cinching it in more and more and more. Like by the end of the minute 15, when the 10-minute time limit was over, Jericho was sitting on Jungle Boy's back, and Jungle Boy was screaming out in pain. I wish they would have smash cut to his family to see their reaction, but they both, Jericho looked like he was cinching it in really good, and Jungle Boy was selling it really well. But then the bell rings. The bell rings, and I guess that means Jungle Boy won. He lasted 10 minutes with Chris Jericho, which Jericho releases the walls, and he thought that the bell ringing meant he won. But a confused Jericho got pissed off when the ref said, no. The time limit's up. So Jericho throws a temper tantrum. He goes and gets in Justin Roberts' face. He goes, add 5 minutes to the clock. And then Jericho gets back into the ring. He slaps Jungle Boy around a little. Jungle Boy does 2 pin attempts to Jericho. Jericho then throws another temper tantrum by grabbing his title and leaving. I guess that ultimately did not count, as they mentioned later on during the match. Jericho, he couldn't have added 5 minutes back to the clock. That was an unofficial rule. They addressed that later on, but I thought that was pretty. It was a good 10-minute match. What did you get? So, yeah. What did you get out of this?
I got the storyline of Jungle Boy being Jungle Boy having a lot of heart. I think he really did perform well in the spot that he was given. He was given an opportunity and he didn't blow it. So I think that kid's going to be a star as long as they continue to use him. My biggest pet peeve with Jungle Boy, though, is he looks like he's 14 years old. I need him to grow a little facial hair, put on some muscle, or he has a lot of muscle, maybe put on some fat. I don't know. Get a little bigger. But it's kind of hard. It felt like I was watching, my little nephew in a match.
Do you want to see Jungle Boy face Jericho again, or do you think it's time for Luchasaurus to shine? I do want to see another match with an actual winner and loser. But if they could find a way to set it up to where, Jungle Boy loses to Jericho and then have that set up a Jericho and Luchasaurus match, I'd be all for that. So if they said, all right, Matt, we're leaving it up to you. He's either going to be known as Jungle Boy or Jungle Jack Perry. It's up to you, Matt. What should we call him? What would you say?
Jungle Boy fits his look, but Jungle Jack Perry, I like that. JJP.
I like how JR is trying to put that over, but it's not sticking. I don't know if you noticed that. Like, it's not sticking at all. Jungle Boy is just... I guess it's going to be that until he turns heel. Maybe, cuts his hair or something. I guess we'll see in the future. But also during the picture-in-picture commercial break, I forgot to mention Jericho gets in Jungle Boy's family's face, which is funny. And, like, the mom and the daughter were, like, pointing at him, saying, fuck you, fuck you. Tony Schiavone interviews Jericho on the entrance ramp, and they have a funny back and forth. But this ultimately leads to Jericho changing subjects pretty quickly, saying that he has a big surprise for Jon Moxley on January 1st. I don't know if he meant if he joins the Inner Circle or if he doesn't join the Inner Circle. Give me a prediction what you think this big surprise is going to be on January 1st.
What's it going to be? They're going to kidnap Renee Young and bring her over.
Oh, shit. That would actually be funny.
Jericho's going to threaten to read the line about Roman Reigns that he lost to read when he was in WWE.
Completely forgot about that. Oh, man. You know what? It's probably going to be some kind of like maybe a debut of someone from his past, or man, if Renee Young appeared on AEW, you know how it would break the fucking wrestling internet if that happened.
They really would.
I hope it happens, but it won't.
It won't happen.
it cuts to some hot bitch backstage interviewing SCU, getting them hyped for their tag match later. And then the Lucha Bros interrupt and they basically upset Christopher Daniels. He walks away. Do you know who that hot bitch was? Because goddamn, she was hot.
I have no clue. I can tell you, I was curious. I wanted to know who she was, but I don't know. I have no idea who she was.
She's wearing a smoking hot dress. I think she's the hottest interview I've ever seen in a backstage segment on both shows.
Yeah, I would think so. She's up there.
I gotta find out who that was. Well,
find out and let us know.
Up next, we get Chris Statlander, the alien, versus Britt Baker, the dentist. I haven't seen a yummy fat ass like Chris's since my lady ref from NXT, who's now on SmackDown. God damn, Chris got that badonkadonk. That's a thick bitch, man. She's on my watch list now for hot bitches. Her, the ref from NXT, and Layla. Those are my top three. Even though Layla's gone, I still love her.
Yeah.
I like how during this match, JR, he kept backtracking. Like he would say something and then he'd have to go back. Like he called Chris. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's definitely different, and that's not a bad thing. You know, different's okay." And then later on, he goes, "Oh yeah, Chris Statlander, she's big, but I mean like big, like strong." Like he was really like backtracking, trying to protect what he says, because like you know how everyone loses their shit online over anything.
Yeah, going to make sure he wasn't the topic of cancel culture.
Me too'd. A lot of the match, this match was okay. It just seemed really safe and not really hard hitting. They flop bumped. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it was like a practice match. It's hard to explain this matchup. Flop bump. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like instead of them hitting the mat hard, they like just flopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was kind of strange.
Like it was kind of like you said, like they were practicing, they were rehearsing for something. They didn't want to go all out yet.
Kind of slow pace, not really hard hitting. It was decent, but Britt Baker throughout the entire match tried to get the lockjaw locked into Chris, but Chris countered every time. Ultimately, at the end, she countered it into the tombstone with stank on it. That's what I'm calling her finisher, because I love how she hooks the legs with her arms and then just fucking drives their head down to the mat.
Mm-hmm, I like it.
Pretty innovative way to do the tombstone. After Chris gets the 3 count, the camera smash cuts to Riho in the crowd, looking like she just saw Godzilla. She's like, "Oh no!" But then Tony Schiavone comes down to the ramp and interviews Chris, and I guess Chris doesn't actually speak. She just touches noses. Very bizarre. I guess that's unique.
Yeah.
But then Brandy comes out wanting the answer if she's going to join the Nightmare Collective, and she doesn't say a word. She just shakes her finger in her face. And then here comes Awesome Kong and that weird audience member who shaved her head. And when Chris is distracted, Brandy takes her heel off and jams it in Chris's forehead or something.
Mm-hmm.
Knocking her down. And they treated that like she got shot in the shoulder or something. They made it a huge deal. I guess Chris's friend from backstage came out. They made it a huge deal. I'm not feeling this story. This kind of silly. I hope it gets better next week, because this whole maybe that's just protecting Chris Statlander because she can't cut a promo. So they're saying, yeah, she's an alien and she touches noses. That's how she talks. Her promo must be fucking awful if that's her gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, she must be like Eric Rowan bad.
Oh shit! Don't let Zanka hear you. Well, before we go to commercial, we get Tully Blanchard and Shawn Spears in a segment backstage talking about looking for a tag team partner for Shawn Spears. This was a little awkward, and I don't really think anyone gives a shit about Shawn Spears. I don't think Tully Blanchard's helping either.
No, I don't think so. Sean Spears. I think he had his 10 seconds of fame.
This whole night really was a kind of a mediocre show. We get the main event next. The Young Bucks take on SCU for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Who did you root for going into the match?
I was just hoping for. Sorry, words are hard. I was going for SCU. I like them. The Young Bucks, they're good, but I just want to see what SCU can do with those tag titles. I think it's too soon to have them lose them.
Do you like Scorpio Sky better, or do you like Christopher Daniels better as the second?
I wish they kind of did a Freebird rule, or like the New Day rule, where any two of them could compete.
That would be nice.
Both. You know, I kind of thought that's what they were going to do originally. I didn't think there was going to be just only Scorpio and Kazarian.
Well, in my opinion, Scorpio is way better. Christopher Daniels, remember that match he had a couple weeks ago? He was botching, and they said that he returned too early. So Scorpio Sky, they're pushing Scorpio Sky to the moon because he got his first. Jericho got his first loss from Scorpio Sky, and then with them being the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions, I think Scorpio Sky is a great fit. He's way more exciting. And this match proves it because the entire match was great, fast-paced action. Scorpio Sky nailing that jumping Hurricane Rana to Nick Jackson, who was standing on the apron, was very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go with another jab. JR saying that tag teams mean something here. And then Tony jumps in with, yeah, wins and losses matter here too. And throughout the entire night, we kept getting Dark Order weird drops. Like at the very beginning of the show, I forgot to mention, like the screen glitched out. And JR and Tony said, well, we are having technical difficulties here, but thank you for staying with us, folks. And then we get the website popping up on the screen a couple times. Join Dark Order. They were foreshadowing the ending of this match. Matt Tryon, would you join the Dark Order?
I'm gonna say no. I'll be honest with you. This Dark Order thing is not doing it for me.
You don't.
I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever.
You don't like the faction where you have to put a mask on?
No, I mean it's like a gothic version of Aces and Eights to me.
Okay, well I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I don't know what's going on in that clubhouse.
I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. Then, do you want to be a part of Cynic's Mafia from Cynic_Chaos, or do you want to be in the Mega Pounders with Cheese? Choose your faction.
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Well, I am a Mega Pounder with Cheese, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the Cynic Mafia.
Oh, Cynic Mafia!
Sorry.
How dare you, sir? Well, after the silliness of the Dark Order distractions, the match was pretty good. Nick Jackson, I guess this is a part of his arsenal now. He hits that second rope balancing Hurricane Rana to Scorpio Sky, which is always impressive. The Bucks dominate the first half of this matchup. Then Kazarian gets in there and starts beating the shit out of the Bucks, finally unbalancing the lead here. Kazarian, he hits a DDT on the apron to one of the Jacksons. I'm reading my notes here. They're kind of out of order for some reason. Scorpio Sky hits an RKO onto a jumping Nick Jackson, turns it into a Dragon Sleeper. Kazarian also does that. I thought that was pretty impressive. SCU is a very good team. Maybe it's just the presentation, their gear, their music I don't like. But when they get in that ring, they prove why they are worthy enough to be the first ever AEW Tag Champs.
That is true.
So we get the SCU. Their finishing move is called SCU Later, which is a weird a gory bomb stretch into a super kick, which that's pretty unique. I like that. It's not really devastating, but it is unique. I'll give them that. They get the pinfall. We think the night is over, but then we get all these weird looking Dark Order minions coming out of the crowd. Lights go out. Lights come back on. Dark Order has surrounded both tag teams, Young Bucks and SCU. And then Evil Uno comes out and runs his mouth about this is not an attack, this is an initiation. And we get Alex Reynolds and John Silver have joined the Dark Order, which no one really gave a shit about, including me. They all beat the fuck out of the 4 tag teams. And I guess AEW Pride comes down. Here comes Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and Dustin Goldust. They come out there and they try to help, but the Dark Order outnumbers all of them, beats the shit out of them. They close the show with Evil Uno sticking his hand in one of the Young Bucks' mouth and posing with blood on their fingers or something. It was kind of lame. They have been pushing this Dark Order storyline for weeks now. They close out the show. Are you a bigger fan of Dark Order, or do you want them to go away?
Go away. I mean, we've seen this. The thing is, we've seen this kind of dark faction going to take over the company and all these things. We've seen it so many times. So if you're going to do it, make sure you do it good, and they're not doing it good.
Well, if they,
I mean, every time I see the Dark Order mask, they look like Shark Boys from TNA.
Yeah, they do. Holy shit, I didn't think of that.
And they're all out of shape. I mean, I know I can't talk, but I'm just like, I'm over it. I was over it right away.
Well, you think if they would invest this much time, they would invest it into a tag team that's good. Their matches haven't been that great.
You haven't.
It would be like WWE doing the same thing with Hawkins and Ryder.
Yeah, exactly. A team like that, just no one cares. You put all the lights and smoke and mirrors around them, and it's still not good.
Well, the reason
like dark characters like this, like the Undertaker, the Fiend, Kane, these dark characters, the reason that their gimmick works is because they're also good in the ring. These guys, they're just another team, really.
Exactly. Well, let's get to the show that matters. The show that won the week. NXT. This
show that won the week and won my heart.
Dude, this was the best bookended show of the year that NXT did. They kicked off NXT with Finn Balor versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship, and that crowd was on fire. They were cheering for both of them. I thought for sure that the Undisputed Era was going to come out and ruin this. But as I predicted last week, Johnny Gargano did ruin the match. I thought he would get more involved, but he just stood on the ramp staring. But let's get into this matchup. Finn was dominating the entire first half of this matchup, but because since turning heel, he has become more vicious, more aggressive, and it showed during the first half of this matchup. Heel Finn is... I'm becoming a major fan of heel Finn.
Same here.
Adam Cole hits a super kick to Finn's left knee. There's an X on his left knee, by the way. I guess that was a target for Adam Cole. So that's how Adam Cole gained the advantage after the first half of this matchup. It's a great back and forth, great storytelling. Morrow was getting hyped. I loved his commentary adding to this matchup. Can you think of any highlights of this match that you want to shine a light on?
Dude, the whole thing was just amazing from start to finish. Like you said, the super kick to the knee was brutal. And it really, once again, great storytelling. These guys are just awesome, man. I don't even know how to... Like, there's nothing I can even pinpoint. It's just everything from start to finish was great.
Well,
I kind of knew the Johnny Gargano thing was coming. And I'm guessing he must still be a little injured. That's why he didn't really get involved. He was just kind of there. They must be still letting him rest, and they're probably going to let him rest for a while. It's probably going to be a long story before anything actually happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense, because all he did really was beat the shit out of Finn with a chair. This match was full of backstabbers, super kicks, Pele kicks, counter after counter after counter. Finn drop kicks Adam Cole into a barricade, which they've done before. It's always funny to see when the crowd gets involved, because You're always trying to see if you recognize who got hit. Because the barricade tackled like 7 people, and I'm trying to look at their faces, but they're obviously NXT prospects.
Yeah, obviously.
And then he throws Cole back into the ring. He misses the coup de grace. Knee gives out. He's on his knees on the floor. Adam Cole hits the last shot. Finn kicks out. Finn eventually gains the upper hand again. He hits the coup de grace, sets up for the 1916, but gets distracted because Johnny Gargano returns with a slow walk on the entrance ramp. And as he's distracted, I don't know why the ref looked at Johnny Gargano. That's when Adam Cole hits the low blow and the last shot, retaining his championship match. 20 minutes this match was. It was an exciting, awesome 20 minutes. Loved how they kicked off this show with excitement. Johnny Gargano returns with the chair in hand, beats the shit out of Finn. Finn runs away. Johnny Gargano does this dramatic pause where he got Finn 1916 him on the ramp, which began the injury. Gargano puts his hand on that spot, all dramatic, and then walks up to the ramp. I thought it was pretty good. If you were to give this match a slice rating, what would it be?
Oh, I'm going 6 in the crust. I might even go a full 7.
Holy shit! 7 slices.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
This was and counter programming to what AEW did with the Lucha Bros and Omega and Hangman. It's obvious that this one won the back and forth with the remote control with people. Because I agree with you. I would give it a solid 7 slices as well, with the excitement of Johnny Gargano returning. After this match is over, we get a War Games recap showing what happened to Damian Priest. Damian Priest is back, and he takes on Killian Dane. Damian Priest, with his taped up ribs, was trying to do his best against Killian, but Killian just beat the shit out of Damian Priest throughout the entire match, focusing on his ribs. I'm glad that Damian was selling them, but eventually, when Damian Priest, he gets his second win. He suplexes Dane, leaps out of the ring onto Dane. He chokeslams Dane, all while not selling his rib injury. I don't know if you caught that.
I did.
Dane was focusing on those ribs throughout the whole match, and Damian Priest was selling that. But then when Damian Priest got his offense in, it was like he was never injured. I guess maybe they want to play it that it was an adrenaline rush. But I just thought that was kind of funny. And some of the criticisms from the guys on the Steel Real After Party is how they don't sell. I thought this was a huge... this stuck out to me as, come on, Damian. Sell them damn ribs.
Yeah, it already took me out of it in the beginning because you remember at Survivor Series he wasn't selling the rib injury that he's supposedly had the night before. And then now he's selling them. And then he doesn't sell them towards the end. It just kind of... It took me out. I'm like, I'd rather them just not even address the ribs if they weren't going to be consistent with it.
Do you like Killian Dane or Damian Priest better?
Damian Priest, I still need a little bit of time with him. I mean, I like him, but I don't know, he just hasn't really sold it for me yet. Killian Dane, just come on, the guy's a monster. I love me a good monster.
Killian Dane, that hefty
bag. One of my first
full of...
Still Real questions I ever took.
What was that?
Sorry, what was that?
You said one of the questions you ever
asked?
asked?
I'm saying that, one of my first questions I ever asked was after Braun and Samoa Joe got into it. And I said I'm a sucker for big, hairy, sweaty men. And so I think as of right now, I'm about to go with Killian Dane.
Big, hairy, sweaty man. I think Damian Priest, he's got the look. He's got the moves. His song is okay. There's something missing. I don't know. I can't pinpoint what it is. There is something missing from Damian Priest.
Same, man. I think it's just going to take time. I think just give him a little bit of time and it'll click.
Because like you said, Killian Dane, it's pretty simple. He's a big, giant, strong guy, and he's doing everything right.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty good match. Killian Dane hits an ugly powerbomb to Damian Priest. setting him up for the Vader bomb. Damian gets his knees up. He hits the crossroads for the win, which is called the Reckoning when he does it. It was a pretty good match. You know, I can't be too hard on it because it was entertaining. My only gripe was Damian wasn't selling as well, but it was still a good match. I liked it.
It was. It was still good, yeah.
Then we get the NXT year-end award nominees, which is, I guess they're going to be a lot more official than the SRAP end of the year awards.
Yeah.
They're giving us more time to vote till the end of the year, but Kushida and Cameron Grimes backstage getting ready to go to commercial break. Come back. Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is returning. Can you name 5 tag teams from NXT? Because I can't.
I can't. That was my biggest thing. I'm like, they don't really have any tag teams. I think they're going to do a tag team tournament.
Yeah,
I think it's just going to be a lot of Franken teams they're just going to throw together.
It's just going to be Undisputed Era again. They're going to win. I bet you they're going to win again.
They're just all going to do different combinations, you know, Cole and Fish, Roddy and O'Reilly. They're going to switch them all up to make up all the teams.
Because other than Forgotten Sons, I seriously, who are the tag? Oh yeah, fuck, I can't think of anybody.
I can't either. I'd even forgotten about the Forgotten Sons. No pun intended.
Because remember,
it'd be cool. I wonder if they're going to utilize other teams from Raw and SmackDown and just make it like a WWE tournament, or is it going to be strictly NXT?
That would be a smart idea because NXT was getting desperate for tag teams. Remember, they put Keith Lee and Dominic together as like on a whim. So I'm guessing they're going to be one of the tag teams too, but they need at least 8 tag teams, I believe.
Yeah, I would say like I said before, just grab some from all over the brands and just kind of put them together.
I bet you NXT UK is going to be involved heavily as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Well, up next, we get the match between Cameron Grimes and Kushida. I don't know if this was an unofficial hat match because, you know, Kushida stole Cameron's hat and the whole premise for the match is for him to get his hat back, I guess. But
that's what I got out of it.
This was a really good match. I always been griping in the past that Kushida doesn't do it for me. This was a really good matchup. Kushida was telling a great story, working on Cameron's arm the entire match because of his finisher, the surfboard stretch or something, or hoverboard stretch. Kushida takes advantage with his incredible speed. He does that unique arm submission to Cameron on the ground. I don't even know what it was called, but he like wrapped up his arms in Kushida's legs, and then Kushida fell backwards. So it was like a weird arm breaker. I love that move. I gotta learn the name of it. It was during the commercial break. They had an entertaining hip toss battle. I don't know if you caught that. Like they kept trying to hip toss each other, but they kept countering it. I thought it was pretty funny. Did you notice that during the commercial break?
I gotta be honest with you, man. I missed this match.
Oh, you did.
During this moment, I had to teach a 2-year-old that we don't stick forks into electrical sockets.
Oh shit!
So I was a little distracted during this part. So.
Damn. Okay. Well, let me just go over the match real quick. Cameron Grimes, he eventually gets some offense in. He finally starts stretching and kicking Kushida, beating him and tossing him around because he's obviously bigger than him. Kushida hits a beautiful springboard elbow. He's the only one I've seen do the springboard elbow correctly because Tajiri used to do it. That's the first time I've seen it, but Kushida mastered it. Kushida hits an armbar. He drop kicks Cameron's arm, still trying to set up the hoverboard stretch. Cameron, with a weird backflip delayed German to Kushida, finally gets the upper hand. But then Kushida comes back with a high swanton to the outside onto a standing Cameron Grimes, which hurt Kushida more than it did Grimes because fucking Kushida fell, 8 feet from the top rope to the outside of the ring onto the mat. Kushida then hits a wheelbarrow-like pin from the top rope, which was very impressive. Cameron Grimes still kicks out. You can't keep this dude down. He really wants his fucking hat back. He hits the double stomp for the win. This was a clean match, too. There was no cheating. Cameron Grimes, they say this is the biggest victory in his entire career. He gets his fucking hat back. And then they cut to an Io Shirai video package, which they're doing very well on these video packages because, WWE's machine, their production, they nail all these video packages.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm strangely attracted to Io Shirai. I don't know what it is about her. I love her theme music. I think she looks hot. I think I have a new crush.
I can't blame you for that one. She is everything about her. I'm just like, wow.
Ever since she turned heel, because when she was face, I didn't give a fuck about her. But now that she's heel, I'm liking it.
Mm-hmm.
She can crawl out of my TV any day. We get an Io Shirai versus Santana Garrett match. Did you see this match?
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of this one.
Santana Garrett was dressed like she's on Glow on Netflix. I thought it was pretty fucking funny in her 80s gear. She put up a decent fight. Oh, let me ask you a question. Camel toe. Do you think it's embarrassing, hot, or distracting?
I think distracting more than anything. Because you're trying not to be a pig, you're trying to pay attention to a good match. And they have to do that. I think it's disrespectful to us viewers.
Yeah. I think it's for me it's in between hot and distracting. I don't know why my eye always goes to the camel toe whenever there's a women's matchup. I guess like you said, we're all pigs, but it's just funny to me. I think Santana Garrett had a mini camel toe throughout the whole match, but she puts up a good fight, including an impressive choke on the ground to Io. But eventually Io hits a moonsault for the win. I'm guessing this isn't going to be on the Hulu version because it was so quick. We get a Worlds Collide promo coming up. That's NXT versus NXT UK. That should be a good back and forth between the two promotions. And then we get another quick match. Pete Dunne versus Travis Banks, who is known as the Kiwi Buzzsaw from NXT UK. Are you familiar with Travis Banks?
I'm not familiar with him, but I do love that name. The Kiwi Buzzsaw.
Kiwi Buzzsaw. This was a very technical match in the beginning until it turned into Pete slapping the shit out of Banks at the beginning of the match. Pete was just tossing Banks around onto the ring apron. Of course, attacking the digits of Travis Banks. That's typical Pete Dunne offense. Pete Dunne attacking the knee, the hands. But Banks, he was fighting an uphill battle this entire matchup because of how good Pete Dunne is. Because Pete Dunne was just brutal attacking this dude. Travis Banks, he counters Pete Dunne's finisher, the bitter end, into a DDT, which I've never seen before. That was the most impressive thing I've seen Travis Banks do the entire match because Pete kept hitting his X-Plex. I guess that's what he's calling his release suplex, where he just drops the dude on the ground. He hit that from the top fucking rope, which was very impressive. Hits the bitter end for the win. Dakota Kai does a backstage interview and reveals that she has 28 staples in her thigh after that match with Mia Yim where they went through the table. My God, I did not know she got injured that badly. 28 staples. Dakota Kai is going to have a wicked scar just to add to her impressive heel character. What are your thoughts on Dakota Kai?
I kind of saw the heel turn coming when as soon as she didn't get picked for the team. But I think the way that she's been executing it ever since she did turn heel, she's doing a great job.
Have you ever got one staple?
No, I never have.
I've never got staples, but I've had stitches. I can only imagine how more painful staples would be.
Yeah.
But thankfully she's young and she'll be healing quicker than most of us. We get to the main event. Of course, like I said earlier, bookended very well. Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. This one had a great start. Rhea punking out Baszler she goes for the punch. Baszler falls. Shayna, she does get the upper hand though, and throughout the entire match is just beating the fuck out of Rhea Ripley. Various stretch holds. Rhea does come back and hits with strikes and hits a superplex, but eventually the horsewomen come out to distract Rhea Ripley. They don't get involved really, even though Rhea takes them both out. Shayna stomps on Rhea's arm on the stairs. When this happened and Rhea screamed, I thought something was actually wrong.
Same here. I thought she legitimately got injured.
Because she kept screaming. Like like for the next 10, 15 minutes, every time she screamed, it got kind of uncomfortable. Like I guess she's just an excellent storyteller and she sold it well, but my God, the bellowing screams and like it was like horror movie screams every time Shayna would hit her arm. Eventually the horsewoman got ejected. Rhea Ripley accidentally drop kicks Shayna into the referee. They fight outside of the ring. Shayna gets a chair. DDTs Rhea on the chair. Moro's having a fucking heart attack on the commentary. She gets the Kirifuda clutch locked in, and I thought this was it. I was like, you know what? You put up a good fight. She was slowly fading. She was in it for a while. Slowly fading, and then just when you think it's over, she grabs the ref by the shirt and looks at him like, "Don't you fucking stop this match." She gets her groove back, breaks out, locks in the cloverleaf on Shayna's big old legs. Baszler does escape. They're both in the corner on the top rope. Rhea Ripley hits a second rope pump handle drop for the win. Rhea Ripley is your new NXT Women's Champion. Fucking Mauro Ranallo says, "Madre mia!" again after that. The ring gets crowded full of... I don't know who the fuck those people were. Do you know who those people were?
No. I was like, there must be anyone they could find from the back to go out there.
I don't know if it was the people from the back. I don't know if it was the audience. But the ring was standing room only. And they basically hold Rhea and cheer her as she holds up the championship. And they go off the air. If I can nitpick, which I'm great at... do you remember when Big Show got suplexed off the top rope from Brock Lesnar and the ring collapsed?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it collapsed from the impact and the weight.
Yeah.
How much combined weight was in that ring when there was standing room only? That should have collapsed the ring.
That should have. Because with Brock and Big Show, it was only 800 pounds, and it had to be way more than that.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Like... 4 people alone would be 800 pounds combined. It looked like there was 40 people in that fucking ring. That ring should have collapsed. Come on now. Well, what's your takeaway from both of these shows? What's your favorite moment from AEW that you can remember? What stood out from AEW to you?
I know I'm going to get hate from some of our guys, but nothing really. AEW was just a very lackluster, mediocre show. I mean, the montage for Jungle Boy was cool. I did enjoy that. It was, it was cool to see, but otherwise, I mean, it was one of those take it or leave it shows. I mean, it was nothing special to me at all.
They should have brought it.
I know you can't talk bad about AEW nowadays. AEW is the best, yada yada, but yeah, they didn't do it for me this week.
They should have brought it. NXT had a stacked card. They should have did something bigger to help have us remember, because you know what my moment was from AEW?
What was that?
Chris Statlander and that fat ass. That's what I took away from this week's AEW. That was my moment of the week. Jericho's good and all, but damn.
Yeah.
So NXT, moment of the week for you.
Just that moment where Rhea Ripley was, like, when we thought that she was going to fade out, like you said, when she grabbed the ref and the look in her eyes, I got chills watching that. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I have to 100% agree with you, man. That when she grabbed that ref and was like, no, I'm not going down. And then she came back and won the match with that pump handle drop from the second row. It was incredible. And Moro adding to the excitement, of course. It was awesome. I loved it. NXT wins the week, in my opinion. Even better than SmackDown last night. I barely even remember SmackDown last night, but NXT was fantastic. Loved it. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Tryon.
Of course, anytime.
I want to encourage you to help us out this Tuesday when Jake and Zanka post the questions for the After Party Hangover Christmas Eve special with my co-host, Julius_Caesar. Go ahead and ask a Facebook and an Instagram question so we can answer it on Tuesday.
I will do, definitely.
Thank you very much, sir. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And until next time, all hail Linda's Booze. Thank you again to my guests this week at GKeeper1 at Mr_Tryon. Go ahead and follow them on Instagram. You want to follow the hosts of the Steel Real After Party on Instagram. It's at After Party Jake, at After Party Zanka, at Steel Real to Us is the Steel Real After Party Instagram handle. On Facebook, you search for the Steel Real After Party. You hit that like button on their page to cover up them nips with some decent merchandise from the Steel Real After Party. Shop.spreadshirt.com/Steel Real After Party. Do not forget, peoples, this Tuesday, the After Party Hangover Christmas Eve special with me and Julius_Caesar. We'll be answering your Facebook and Instagram questions, so go ahead and put them up there as soon as they post the picture for it of the week. On, I believe, Tuesday morning they'll post it. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to my guests. And as always, the rule is you can open one gift on Christmas Eve.